Good morning. One reason is the reason which is brought down in the halacha, and that's what all Yidden go by. And there is another reason, and this is the reason that's mainly emphasized by Svardim and Chassidic. So this is connected to the Zohar, to Shimon Bar Yochai. So the reason that's found in halacha is it's simply because there was a plague. 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva passed away. We're talking about, first of all, such a number of Jews in general is a huge tragedy. In addition to that, these weren't ordinary people. These were students of Rabbi Akiva, who were, he was the greatest sage of that generation. So obviously his students were also on a higher plane. On Lag BaOmer, miraculously the plague stopped. There's two opinions. One opinion is that it stopped, and after Lag BaOmer it went back. Another opinion when it stopped and didn't continue. But certainly Lag BaOmer is the day that it stopped. So that's why it's the Yontif. We don't say Tachnun, and we have other customs. In Hasidic circles and Sephardic circles, there's an additional reason, and this is the main reason why there's so much simcha and dancing and singing, because the strangest thing happened when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed away on this day, Lag BaOmer. He requested that this day should be commemorated and celebrated like a wedding. Try to think of it. He passed away. He was the tzaddik of the generation. He was the one that was entrusted with the deepest secrets of Torah. And yet, he's telling us that the way to celebrate his day is by celebrating like a wedding. In fact, if you see the word Hilula, Yom Hilula, Hilula in Aramaic means a wedding. So we'll soon go into the reason, but first let's go into, the Rebbe talks about the fact that being the Simcha on Lag BaOmer is extremely important and urgent. And in order to bring out that point, here's a Sikha. So you're looking at page 409. This is from the Kutus Sichas, volume 37. And it's Ois Tez Zayin, page 409. And the Rebbe says as follows. Again, it's Yiddish, so I'm going to read it. I'm going to follow the text, but not say the Yiddish words. Regarding the fact that there has to be a lot of Simcha on Lag BaOmer, we see this from a story that's printed and publicized. And by the way, this is not a story that's found in a storybook. It's a story that's found in the very writings of the Arizal himself. What does it say there? That there was a what?
Where are you reading from?
Page 409. This sheet.
Yeah, and which paragraph?
Where it says Tez Zayin. Why, you don't see it?
No, I see it now.
The Arizal had a student whose name was Rabbi Avraham Halevi, and he and the Arizal together went to Miron for Lag BaOmer. And by the way, that's where the custom comes from, that people go to Miron and celebrate it there. It comes from the Arizal. This student had an interesting custom. His custom was that he would say in davening every day by the bracha of Yerushalayim Ircha, Nachem. If you look in the Siddur, Nachem is a tefillah that we say only once a year and only one time. It's a tefillah where we're pouring out our hearts about the Churban Beis HaMikdash, and we say it in Shmon Esrei, but even on only day we say it is Tisha B'Av. And even on Tisha B'Av, we don't say it by Shacharis, we don't say it by Ma'ariv, we only say it once by Mincha. This student would say this prayer, he would insert it in Shmon Esrei, which halachically is questionable because you don't put in things into Shmon Esrei, but obviously he was able to, he knew that he was allowed to. And he would say it every single day, Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv, this prayer. And then a big tragedy happened to him. And he asked Rabbi Arizal, why did this tragedy happen to him? So Rabbi Arizal said that he has a message to him from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said that today is Yom Simchaseinu. It's our day of Simcha. And by him saying this prayer, which is all the grief of the Churban Beis HaMikdash, this interfered with the Simcha of Shimon Bar Yochai. So the Rebbe says, this teaches us how important it is to be b'simcha on this day. And what's really the explanation? Why did he do such a thing that no one else did? So if you look a little bit further, it says, the reason why he said Nachem, because Rabbi Avraham Halevi, it's brought down from the Chidah, who himself was a great Mekubal, big Kabbalist, and he writes that this student, his neshama was a Gilgul reincarnation of Yirmiyahu HaNavi. Yirmiyahu HaNavi was the Navi who lived and experienced the Churban Beis HaMikdash together with all the Yidden. He wrote the Eicha, the book of Eicha. So we can imagine that the grief that he felt for Churban Beis HaMikdash, no one else could compare to that. Definitely no one else in later generations. He had that neshama, so he felt the Churban Beis HaMikdash in a way like no one else. And therefore, he was justified to say this prayer every single day. Let's turn the page to 410. The Rebbe writes, not only that, apparently he would say this tefillah even on Rosh Chodesh. Because it says he said it every day. And not only that, he even said it on Chol HaMoed, the B'Yontif. Then the Rebbe goes into another discussion that this is not clear, but it appears that he would have even said it on Shabbos and Yontif, but there is no place where to insert it in Shabbos and Yontif. But that means, how is it? He said it every single day, and obviously it wasn't a problem, nothing happened to him, so he did the right thing, it was acceptable to Hashem, and yet, when he did it on Lag BaOmer, a tragedy happened, which means not only it was inappropriate, it was seemingly inappropriate on a very, very high level. Of course, tzaddikim are measured differently, so it's not something chas v'shalom that affects every person the same way. But we see from this that this is something which was totally unacceptable to be not b'simcha on that day. If you look a little bit further on page 411, where it's underlined, the Rebbe says, so we see from this that in some sense, the simcha that's required on Lag BaOmer is even more than the simcha that's required on Rosh Chodesh, more than the simcha that's required on Shabbos and Yontif, more than the simcha that's required on Chol HaMoed, and it's similar to the simcha that's required when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach will be here, it also says that simcha will be greater than Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, Simchas Torah. It'll be a joy that will be beyond everything else. So I think here the Rebbe is also alluding to an explanation, and the whole thing is really sort of shocking. How would it make sense that a tzaddik should say that the day of his passing, which we would think should be the biggest tragedy, not only there shouldn't be mourning, but there should be simcha more than any other day, and chas v'shalom, if anyone does the opposite, there was a punishment. How do you explain that? I remember one year, I was bringing a group of children to the parade. So I was in a taxi with another bacher. We picked up a group of kids and we brought them to the parade. And we're driving into Eastern Parkway, and the driver wasn't Jewish, sees clowns, music, and everybody jumping around. So he says, what's going on here today? So the boy says, oh, a very big rabbi died today. I saw his eyes pop out like, is that what the Jews do when a great big rabbi dies? So I said, wait a second. First of all, this was like about 2,000 years ago, number one. But to understand, what is it and how can it make sense that you should be b'simcha? So it appears the explanation is like this. When Mashiach comes, good morning, Leah, just in time for Simcha. Okay. When Mashiach comes, what will be with Tisha B'Av? Will it be a day of mourning or will it be a day of Simcha? Or it'll be a day that's not Simcha, not mourning. What? So why? We can understand that it won't be mourning anymore because now we have Beis Mikdash again. But why would there be simcha? And not only the simcha, it says the simcha then will be greater than the simcha of Yom Tov. Why? So Chassidus explains everything that happens that's negative really is a hidden bracha, right? So if a person loses $10, it's a hidden bracha. How big is the bracha? What would you think?
$10.
Right. Maybe more than $10, but in proportion to $10. If a person loses chas v'shalom something bigger, then the bracha is bigger. Why? Because if it's something that's really hiding a bracha, hiding a light, the brighter and the more intense the light is, the more thick the concealment has to be. Remember, we learned in class that Rabbi Meir, when he taught, he needed 300 mishalim. But Shlomo Melech needed 3,000 mishalim to conceal his knowledge. And a regular chacham needed one mashal to conceal his knowledge. What's the difference? Because his wisdom was like this, so one mashal was sufficient. But when the wisdom is much greater, you need 300 mishalim. And when the wisdom is even greater, you need 3,000 mishalim. So basically, when we see a concealment, on one hand, what we see is something concealment, very negative. On the other hand, it's an indication that there's a bracha here, and the bracha is somewhat in proportion to the concealment. Is this part clear? Right. So there's no greater tragedy that ever happened in history than the Churban Beis Hamikdash. Not only because the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, but the Churban Beis Hamikdash was really the opening door to all the tragedies and all the massacres and all the Gullus and everything that happened in Gullus, all the pain and all the suffering and all the grief. It's all the result of Churban Beis Hamikdash. So it means this day is the key and holds in it all the negative. What does that mean? That the hidden bracha is what? In proportion to that. That the hidden bracha has to be something so huge that we say that the Churban Beis Hamikdash and all the tzaras of Gullus is what was hiding it. So when Mashiach comes, this will actually, we'll see the hidden bracha in the Churban Beis Hamikdash, in the day of Tisha B'Av. And Tisha B'Av will be actually a day that we'll be celebrating. And it's interesting to know, people think this is a concept in Kabbalah and Chassidus. It's a pasuk in Navi, that these days will be transformed into Yom Tovim. It's not explained there. People without Chassidus might have a hard time understanding it, but Chassidus is only an explanation, but the fact is written in Navi. And the Rambam also writes it in his book of Halacha. So in the same way, the passing of a tzaddik is a tragedy. So what's going to happen when Mashiach comes with those days that a person passed away? When Mashiach comes, those days will also turn into simcha for the same reason. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was the one that revealed the hidden secrets of Torah, and the hidden secrets of Torah will be fully revealed when Mashiach comes. That means he was already in that place during his lifetime. He was in the place of Gula. He was in the place of Mashiach. So in his world and his realm, he was conducting himself like it'll be when Mashiach comes. That this day is actually a yontiv, not a tragedy. And therefore, what he wanted to accomplish was that everybody should be b'simcha on that day. In other words, we should all be lifted to go into his world, that this day is a day of simcha. This day is sort of a Mashiach day. And by being the opposite, this great tzaddik, by being at the cave of Shimon Bar Yochai and acting in a way of mourning, so he interfered with what Rashbi wanted to accomplish. It's like he wanted to bring people up to the realm of Geula, and through his actions, it brought it down or didn't allow it to happen. So the conclusion is that on Lag BaOmer is supposed to be simcha, and this simcha is connected with the simcha of Geula. I remember once at a Fabrengen, the Rebbe said there are certain people that it's below their dignity to come to the parade because after all it's a parade for little children. So they do their thing, then they go home to eat lunch. Then the Rebbe said, what kind of foolish people? If Shimon Bar Yochai was there at the parade and he couldn't be there. So obviously these parades, there's much more going on than what we can imagine. Of course, it's similar to what it says in Purim, that Mordechai gathered 22,000 children. But what is the reason why on Lag BaOmer there's so much emphasis on children? I would have thought just the opposite. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is not only a tzaddik, not only a great Torah giant, but within Torah giants, he's actually an exception, and he revealed the hidden secrets of Torah, things that no one else knew. And after that day, what kind of day is it to spend with whom? With children. How does that fit in? This should have been the day that all the Mekubalim, all the people who know Kabbalah, should all gather together and have a Kabbalah session. Instead, it's a day with children and you're having puppet shows. How does that fit into the picture? So there's another sikha explaining that. The Rebbe gives a few reasons for this. Before we do that, no, after it's in the sikha, I'll show it to you once we go into the sikha. This is the one that I want to do now. Yeah. Yes. Let's see if we have enough. I think we'll need more. There's a few more. Yeah. One more sheet that I want to give out, but I guess I left it downstairs. What else is there? Okay. I just want to point out that generally speaking, the line of Kabbalah, the first one to reveal Kabbalah in the world openly is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The next one, which is considered that the one who is designated to reveal Kabbalah to the world, was much later, and that was Reb Eliyahu the Arizal. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai lived about 1,800 years ago, and the Arizal lived about 400 years ago. And then after the Arizal, there were three people that followed. One was called Reb Eliyahu Bar Shem. I have a sheet, maybe I'll bring it up later. One was called Reb Eliyahu Bar Shem. One was called Reb Yoel Bar Shem. And the third one was called Reb Adam Bar Shem. All great Mekubalim, and each one revealed Kabbalah in their generation, had a lot of opposition. And then the fourth one was Rabbi Yisrael Bar Shem Tov. And that's when Chassidus began. So just the sheet, this shows you the timeline. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Arizal, Rabbi Yoel Bar Shem, Rabbi Yoel Bar Shem, Rabbi Adam Bar Shem, and the Bar Shem Tov and Chassidus. So this is relevant to what we're going to learn here now. So let's look at this page. Again, this is in Yiddish, but I'm going to be focusing on the footnotes. The footnotes are in Hebrew. The Rebbe starts off the Sikha by saying, it's the Sikha from 1986, printed on the Kutei Sikha is also volume 37. And the Rebbe says, there's a Minig Yisrael that on Lag BaOmer, children, it's a day that we celebrate with children. You go out into the field and you give them a good time. And by the way, this itself is also shocking. The halacha is that the learning Torah of children, because it's very precious to Hashem, you don't interrupt it unless there's really an important reason. One of the halachas that are brought down about this point and indicates the importance is when Mashiach comes and will build the Beis Hamikdash, everybody will want to be part of it, men and women. But there's only one group of people that will not be involved in building the Beis Hamikdash because it's more important for them to sit and learn. And who is that? The children. These children, their teachers, they'll be busy teaching the children. And the Rebbe once asked, somebody might say, okay, so you have millions of people building the Beis Hamikdash and the children or the teachers are not involved, what's the big deal? And the Rebbe answered, if it wouldn't make any difference, you wouldn't need a halacha to tell us that they don't have to do it. Obviously, it means the teachers and the principals and the educators, if they would be involved, the process of building the Beis Hamikdash would go faster, and yet it's still more important for the children to learn than for them to be participating in building the Beis Hamikdash. So obviously, it shows us that the learning of children is very precious to Hashem, and therefore, even for the building of Beis Hamikdash, you don't interrupt. And on Lag BaOmer, we do interrupt. And instead of learning, they go out to the field, and they play with bow and arrows, and they have games, and they have fun. So what is the reason? So Rebbe gives a few reasons. What you're looking at over here is about 4 or 5 reasons. I underline them. The first one that's underlined, it says, Ki b'yom zeh Tamidi Rabbi Akiva. On this day, the Tamid and Rabbi Akiva stopped dying. And why did it happen in the first place? Because they didn't have proper respect for one another. That means that the whole thing of this period of Lag BaOmer and the 49 days is connected to Talmidim, to students. And that's why the day should be celebrated mainly by students, and those are children. Even though those students were adults, but Rebbe doesn't go into explaining that part. Maybe it just means that from this youngest age, you have to teach students that they should be respecting one another. The second reason is underlined that children are terasam u'menasam. Terasam u'menasam means, the Gemara says, many people tried to follow Rav Shmuel Bar Yochai, they couldn't keep up with it. What was it? He had no other occupation in the world, nothing else, only learning Torah day and night. Everybody else learned Torah day and night, but they had other things that they did for their sustenance, for their income. And he had nothing, just learning day and night, and not too many people could keep up with that. So the Rebbe says, where do we find this kind of learning Torah that's at least on some level similar to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that all you have is Torah, you have no other concerns? Children. Being that children, Baruch Hashem, have parents that take care of them, and parents that take care of their sustenance and everything that they need, so they can devote themselves to Torah without any other concerns in the world. Only children can do that. I don't remember if I told you this story. And if I did, I'll do the second time, okay? When I became bar mitzvah, in those days we would go into the Rebbe Yechidus. The whole family would go in. The whole family would be going in. And when I went in, the Rebbe asked me if I'm going to be saying a mimer, because the bar mitzvah boy always says a mimer. So I said, yeah. So the Rebbe said, okay, say it. So, it's great enough to say it in front of a lot of people, in front of the Rebbe, but I had no choice. I started saying the mimer. The mimer starts off that the Bnei Yisrael said to Hashem, we'd love to learn Torah day and night, but we have no time. So Hashem said to them, if you will put on tefillin, I will consider it as if you're learning Torah day and night. And I said that whole piece in Yiddish. When I came to the end of that piece, the Rebbe continued with the tune of the mimer, and he said, but we have no worries about parnasa. You can study Torah day and night, so you can't get away with tefillin. So basically, children have this blessing that they, hopefully, children should always be in a situation where they have those who take care of them, and parents should be healthy and well, and therefore they don't have to worry about anything else. So the children are the most similar to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That's the second reason. Then comes the third reason, also underlined on top of page 434. The children have a connection to the Pnimis HaTorah, the hidden secrets of Torah. What does that mean? And the Rebbe quotes from the Zohar that it says that in the generation before Mashiach comes, that generation of Mashiach, when that gets close, even children, it's Aramaic, even children will know the hidden wisdom of Kabbalah. And in this context, children can mean two things. Children, figuratively speaking, years ago, Kabbalah was reserved only for the greatest Torah scholars. And today, ordinary people, which are figuratively speaking, like children, also study. And the other interpret that even children literally. And that's what we see today. Little children, they study Tanya by heart. They definitely learn sichos, and all that is really pnimis Torah. So something which years ago was hidden from the greatest Torah scholars, today it's so open and so exposed that even children are familiar with these concepts of the neshama, and the levels of the neshama, and the spiritual worlds, and the spheres, things that were totally unknown in previous generations. And that's why, being that Reb Shimon Chai is identified by children, we spend this day with children. Then comes another reason. This reason needs a little bit more explanation, and that's the one that's underlined on the bottom and goes into page 435. Another reason that this is similar to what it says in reference to Shavuos. Baneinu Ervim Isanu, the Matan Torah, the Nigla of the Torah. When Hashem gave the Torah to the Yidden, we know that Hashem asked them for a guarantor. And they offered, the Abbas will be our guarantor. Hashem said, no, not good enough. The Nevi'im will be guarantors. No, not good enough. The elders will be guarantors. Not good enough. Then finally they said, the children will be guarantors. And the Abishah said, that's what I want. If the children will be dedicated to study Torah, then I'm guaranteed that the Yiddishkeit will continue. And that's the reason why on Shavuos is such an emphasis on children. And in fact, the Rebbe initiated this campaign that on the day of Shavuos, Matan Torah, everybody should go to shul to hear the Aseres HaDibros, and even children, even little children, infants, anybody that can already get there should get there on Shavuos to hear the Matan Torah, because of this reason. So the Rebbe goes on to say that the same with Bibul Lag B'Omer, which is Matan Torah, Primus HaTorah. This is a historic mimer, where the Rebbe Rashab said in a mimer called the Svartim Lechem Tov Samach Lov, where he writes that Lag B'Omer is Kabbalas HaTorah, or Matan Torah, or Primus HaTorah. What does that mean? Matan Torah was once only, and it never will happen again. When Hashem gave the Torah Har Sinai, everything was included, even Kabbalah, and all the secrets of Kabbalah. Not only that, even the greatest chidushim of Torah, the greatest new ideas in Torah that were never revealed before, they'll only be revealed through Mashiach, even that was already included in Matan Torah. So we're using the word Matan Torah here, not literally, but figuratively, which means, what was Matan Torah? When Hashem gave the Torah to the Yidden, it says, you learned this in all the sikhs, I'm sure, that there was a mechitza, there was sort of a partition between heaven and earth. And before the Torah was given, even though Abraham Avinu learned Torah, and Yitzchak and Yaakov and the Shvatim, and they did certain mitzvahs, they brought godliness down, but there was a wall, there was a partition. And godliness wasn't able to penetrate the physical world. And after the Torah was given, that partition was taken away. So the same is here. That even though the Torah was revealed from Matan Torah, but there was a certain partition still blocking the hidden secrets of Torah, that still should not be revealed yet. The first person who lifted and moved away that partition was Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Let me show you what it's connected to. I made up with all these people to call me while I'm teaching. Okay. There's two sides here. One page, first turn to the side that says, on top of the page, it's underlined. The top pasuk is underlined. Gal Einan. No, sorry, the other side, where it says, chapter 31. This is the story of Lavan and Yaakov, and it says that Lavan was pursuing Yaakov and he wanted to harm him. Hashem came in a dream and said, don't you dare touch him. And then Yaakov and Lavan made a deal. What did they do? They took stones, they made a pile of stones. You're learning it in the Chumash class. And they made a pile of stones that separated Yaakov from Lavan. It's interesting, not a wall, a pile of stones. And here's the pasuk. Vayomer Lavan, and Lavan said to Yaakov, Ehine Hagal Hazeh, this pile of stones is a monument which I put between me and you, and this pile is like a witness, and this monument is a witness that I will not pass the pile to go to you, and you can't come to me. So the pile of stones was like a machitza, a partition. What's the pile of stones called in Hebrew? Gal. Gimel Lamed.
Oh, like,
What? So it says in Chassidus that the word gal is like the word lag, Lamed Gimel. That up until the times of Rashbi, there was also a partition between the hidden secrets of Torah and the revealed part of Torah. And the hidden secrets were being blocked, that this is something that can't be revealed. And only a few selected in a generation were permitted to study these secrets of Torah. And Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was the one that took away that blockage. On the other side of the page is another pasuk in Tehillim, where it says, Gal Einai, uncover my eyes, and I shall see the wonders in your Torah. Wonders mean the hidden secrets of Torah. And again, the word is Gal Einai. Gal is the same letters as Lag Ba'omer.
Rabbi Majeski,
Yeah.
is this a story about Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai when someone was praying on the mountain where he was buried and about he was worried about the destroying of the Beis Hamikdash, but Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was the one who always lived with the meaning that there is Beis Hamikdash still. It's a story about him.
That was a story I told in the beginning of the class. That he was crying by the Rabbi Shimon. I told that story in the beginning. Rabbi Avraham Halevi, yep.
But why Rabbi Shimon took it as a offense, offended by it?
No, it wasn't an offense. It meant to say that what I explained was that he was in his day, and his purpose was to lift all the Bnei Yisrael to a higher place, a place of Geula. And the place of Geula is only Simcha. Someone like that, of that caliber, by the fact that he was crying by the Beis Hamikdash, interfered and brought everything down. That's why he was upset. It's not that he was upset and he punished him. It meant that he caused certain spiritual damage, so it affected him. But what went wrong was not that he offended his honor or something. It was that he interfered with Rav Shimon Bar Yochai accomplishing what he wanted to accomplish.
Thank you.
And the same now, when the Rebbe says we should always be b'simcha, the Rebbe used the term many times, we should be living Mashiach. That's what it means. We have to live in this frame of mind like in the times of Mashiach. And we also find another thing, if you continue looking in that footnote on page 435, that the Mittel Rebbe, it says on Hayom Yom of Lag BaOmer, that by the Mittel Rebbe specifically, this is one of the most outstanding Yom Tov, Lag BaOmer. We would go out into the fields and they would see many miracles. In fact, most of the miracles were regarding children, meaning people who unfortunately weren't blessed with children. On that day, they would get brachas from the Mittel Rebbe and they would have children. And it's brought down in the Zohar. The Rebbe writes that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai himself was very known for this bracha, that through him, women who couldn't have children were blessed to have a child. In fact, people used to come, and probably people still do come, from all over the world who need that bracha to come to be by the Rebbe on Lag BaOmer. I know personally a few people that on Lag BaOmer they asked the Rebbe for a bracha, and by the next year Lag BaOmer they had their baby. So again, we see an emphasis on children. What I wanted to show you, by the way, where in the map, so to speak, does Reb Shimon Bar Yochai belong? Where was he? Which generation? So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was a student of Rabbi Akiva. He was one of his students, which is very interesting. That punct in the 49 days, that's when all the students died. And out of all that, in one of those days is the biggest simcha ever, which is the opposite of passing away, was also a student of Rabbi Akiva, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. But after Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, we find that these great tzaddikim who they carried the torch of Kabbalah, Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem, Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem, Rabbi Adam Baal Shem, and the Baal Shem Tov, who was teaching them Torah was Achia Shiloini. So I wanted to show you this just, I did bring those sheets. See, very early in the morning, I can't blame myself. Okay, let me give this out.
I made them appear.
Yeah, wow.
They weren't there before, but.
Just to see the timeline.
The 4 generations?
It has to have on top to say the 6 generations.
Wait.
This.
There's 2 different things.
Okay, so give out both. Yeah.
Others are not though.
Not enough. Okay.
So yours have, that means, yeah. Is you want this one? Does anyone need this one? Okay. So that one you want to share. Can you take the purple? So this is you don't have any more?
I'll make copies later. I'll bring it up. Sorry. No. I have these, but not the other ones.
Right.
These we have on top of the letter. But you can take this because I have more copies downstairs.
I'll give out those ones to everybody.
Yeah, okay. So there's 2 things I want to show you. One is we see here the timeline of Shimon Bar Yochai was 1800 years ago. Then came the Arizal about 400 years ago. This is the chain of the hidden secrets of Torah coming out into the world. What happened, which was unique in the times of the Arizal, was he was the first one to say that the time has come that these hidden secrets of Torah no longer have to be hidden. On the contrary, he uses the words, it's a mitzvah to reveal it and to publicize it. But still, it was only being studied by scholars, by Talmidei Chachamim, by great people. It wasn't for the masses. The Baal Shem Tov, he was the one who introduced Chassidus, which is really principles and concepts of Kabbalah, but it was being presented to everyone and anyone that we could all learn it and understand it. And then there's the other Hasidic Rebbes, there's Alter Rebbe with Chabad, but this is the general chain of events, how things happen. And the second sheet is to show you that who did the Baal Shem Tov study with, and I think the other Baal Shems also did, with Achia Shiloini. Who's Achia Shiloini? So if you look at this sheet with the names, these are the 40 generations from when the Torah was given until the end of Gemara. So the first generation, it's going backwards. I hope you don't mind going backwards. It's going backwards. Rav Ashi was the one who he completed writing Gemara. Rav Ashi. And Moshe Rabbeinu was number 40. That's the first generation. So if you look, and you see, Eliyahu Hanavi was number 33. Achia Shiloini is number 34. So Achia Shiloini was a Navi. He was a student of Eliyahu Hanavi, but the Rambam writes that in addition to that, he was one of the Yidden who left Mitzrayim. So that means he lived from the times of Moshe until the times of Eliyahu Hanavi. He lived a few hundred years. Then he passed away, and he's the one who came back to teach Torah to the Baal Shem Tov and the other Baal Shems. And that's interesting because most of the people who studied Kabbalah was with Eliyahu Hanavi. In Gemara, there are stories of people who studied with Eliyahu Hanavi. And this is Achia Shiloini. Okay, so at least you get some glimpse. If anybody wants to know a little bit more about the other Baal Shems, I did make copies here, just a few, because usually we just put them out on the table. They end up on the table. But if you want to look it up, either you can take one of these, and it has that chain of the 3 Baal Shems, Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem, Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem, Rabbi Adam Baal Shem. They preceded the Baal Shem Tov. And if you have the book at home, which is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's memoirs, the previous Rebbe memoirs, it's in that book. Rabbi Yoel Hashem, chapter 22.
And which one, the second book?
What? The first. Oh, you're right. This might be in the second book. No, it should be in the first. No, it should be in the first.
So let's spread it. Just copies of the book.
If you want, this is a copy of the book. This is the part of the book that relates to the story. Yeah. Okay.
Rabbi Majeski, we're in trouble.
Oh no.
I opened the window, but now we have a big. I have a copy of the book.
Yeah. This is a copy of the book in Mark. Baruch Hashem, not a bird. It's Baruch the bee, don't worry. Capital B. Oh.
It's not. But it's not out there. No, if it's out there, it's not showing up. I said it's showing up. I'll tell my kids. Thank you. But it's so stuffy.
Who can give me one of these sheets? Of the single copies.
Rabbi Majeski.
Write about it.
I think that's the original. That's the big one.
You get this?
I will.
All the copies have these writing on it? No.
No. This one is yours. This one is yours. Oh, this one doesn't.
You can take this. Okay.
Rabbi Majeski.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi Majeski.
You're welcome. Enjoy.
Do you want me? No, it's fine. I'm gonna take this one. I think it's the same. No, it's different. Oh, no.
This is still the funniest thing I've ever seen. This is still the funniest thing I've ever seen. There's like so many things to be funny about it. Like on so many levels.